Hey, welcome back to the Man Cave Workshop, and thank you so much for joining me again. So we're going to move on to the cosmetic parts of this radio now, and the first thing we want to do is give this this dial face a clean. And there's a little ding in this edge here, so we're going to see if we can sort that out. So first thing to do is pull the knobs off. Okay, sometimes they come off easy, sometimes they don't. That one came off easy. And of course this one is going to be a struggle. Obviously, first thing you do with these knobs is check there's no grub screw in the sides holding it, and there isn't in this instance. So this really does not want to come off. It doesn't want to budge. So I'm going to get this out and see if we can just gently, we don't want to damage the dial face, persuade it a little bit to lift. And as you can see, all that's doing is moving the whole tuning capacitor underneath. Oh, no, this really doesn't want to come off. What I'm going to do is get I'm going to get a piece of wire and see if we can slide it around the back of it, or a rag cloth, and see if we can get it off that way. So what I've done, I've just got a piece of wire, and I'm just going to wrap that around and see if we can't persuade it to lift off with this. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. It does mean you can get a really good grip of it. As you can see, this knob does not want to come off at all. Oh, it is moving. It's moving slightly. So you've just got to persevere. What you don't want to do is get anything sharp, like a screwdriver, and wedge it behind there. There we go. So that's that one off. So that was just a piece of wire wrapped round. Now we're going to remove, I think there's 6 screws on this that hold it in. Getting quite a collection of parts for this one in the little stay tub. So let's undo these. There's 1. These come off okay. 2, 3 on that side. Let's lift that off. Is that the one that's dented? No, that one's okay. Put that on one side. We'll get the other 3 screws out now. And then hopefully the dial face should just lift off. And that's the one that's got that little ding in it there. We're going to see if we can persuade that to come out a little bit after. There's the dial face off. As you can see, it's in quite good nick, this. Let's pop that on one side. Let's have a look in here. Now we've got these, they're like a felt tape, and that one's pushed in a little bit. Let's just pull it off. And all the grime and dirt in there, you see it moving about. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take it outside and just get that soft brush and give it a brush down to get rid of all that. So I've just used a soft brush and just cleaned out all the human remains, is it, from inside there. And now all I'm doing is just with one of these wet wipes, I'm just wiping these buttons down, knobs, buttons, whatever you want to call them. And then what we're going to do is to just give the dial face a wipe over with, while we've got one of these wet ones. Just makes everything easier to handle. Now I'm holding this as steady as I can while I wipe it, because what you don't want to do is start knocking off any of this backing. So I'm just holding it really steady, so I don't want it moving underneath while I give it a wipe over. Obviously it will move a tiny little bit. Just looking over this. You do get these rings where these knobs have been, but I don't tend to bother too much with them because they're covered up when the knobs are on. So I'm just looking at the rest of the dial face, and it looks pretty scratch free. So I might just give that just a light polish. It does look in fairly good nick. That obviously around here there's some marks where fingers have been, fingernails scratch it. But yeah, I think we'll just give that a quick polish over. Throw the buttons everywhere while we're at it. Right, yeah, but the reason I've still got this in my hand is because these little pulleys, what I'd like to do is, it's fairly free, this one. I just like to pop a tiny bit of thin oil. I've got this stuff, it's just car lube, handy oil. And what you want to be careful of with this, you don't want to get it actually on the pulley itself, because then it'll make the dial cord slip. So I've come terribly unprepared. Let me get something. I just grabbed a quick container. It's one of them that you use for your washing. I'm just going to tip some of this thin oil into there and get one of these really fine brushes and put a dab on the end of that, and then I'm literally just going to drop it around. If you look at these, you can see where they move is like an inner line. I'm just going to drop it around them, only a tiny bit of this oil. Trying the best not to get it on the actual pulley itself, and I'm just going to twist it round a few times just to work that oil in. And then wipe off the excess, then it doesn't go onto that dial cord, because that's what we don't want to happen, because the dial cord will just slip. I wouldn't wiping away from the dial cord, just get a bit of the excess. Let's see, that actually does feel a lot smoother now. Might not seem much, but it can make a difference. That just frees up them pulleys. So right, that's that done. What we're going to have a go at straightening out this. Now what I've got, let me see if I can get this in shot for you. Just on the edge of my desk, I've put this lip to stop things falling off, and it does make a good edge for dealing with dents like this. You can make these look a lot worse than they are. So you've got to be careful. Just getting a piece of wood. I'm just going to try and push it out at first, just with this piece of wood. So we're not going crazy. It's come out a little bit, so I'm going to use the end of a screwdriver now to try and get it out a little bit more. It's come out quite a lot now. It's not got rid of it completely. Let me hold it up really close. But it looks a lot better than that dent that it had in it. The thing is, with something like this, you've got to know when to stop, because you can make it look a lot worse. And when I was using that piece of wood, it did make a slight mark, but the end of the screwdriver got rid of that. Well, let's see what that's going to look like back on. That's going to look a lot better. So like I said, I'm going to just do a very light polish on this, and all I'm going to use, nothing off shelves here. I'm going to use this stuff. It's just a rubbing compound. I'm just going to go over it lightly and then put all this back together, and we can move on to the actual case of the radio then. So there we go. I've just got a tissue paper and some of that rubbing compound, and I'm just very gently taking off any of them light scratches around the volume and the tuning, where the volume and the tuning knobs go. So I've done some circular movements, and then I'm just going to go straight across like that. I find it looks okay if you do it that way. And then we'll just get a wet wipe. Wipe that off. And it's starting to look a lot better than before. After this, I'll just use a normal, just like a furniture polish, just to finish it. It should be all nice and sparkly and like new then. Okay. Okay, I said furniture polish, right? What I meant is tea-cut to finish it off. Now I've done that, I don't know if it'll show up on the camera where that sticky stuff has been. What it's done, it's actually lifted some of this paint off the back. Probably won't see through. When you lift it up to the light, you can actually see through it. So what I've got here is just some black, just poster paint, just normal poster paint. I'm going to pop a little bit on here. We don't need loads. This brush is probably a bit overkill, a bit big. Let's get a smaller brush from somewhere. So yeah, just going to get a brush and I'm just going to paint over where it's marked, where that sticky stuff's been, and it's lifted the black background off the back. And now, yeah, you can't see through it now. Obviously I'm going nowhere near that window. It's just where that what I'm trying to say, where this stuff, which is quite abrasive, has rubbed on the back of the dial face, and it's just started to show through a little bit. So there's no real art to this. Just get it on even, obviously, avoiding that window. And what we'll do then, we'll just put this on one side to dry off, and then we'll move on to the main case. I think it does make a difference doing these little things like this. It does improve the radio quite a lot. Okay. We zoom out a bit. Okay, right, onto the case. So looking at the case, what we need is a badge. The grill doesn't look too bad. I think just a clean. There is one ding in it here, but there's a couple of tiny bits. I think some of these, you start working on them, you can make them look a lot worse than they actually are. So this badge is obviously, these are the pieces that go through here, and obviously it's snapped off at some point in its life. Now the badge I've got is this one. This is the only one I've got spare. It's only got one leg on it, but I think we can do something with that. Let's just offer it up. Now immediately, see, I was looking on the internet. I've seen some of these with, this is the earlier style badge, and I've seen some with a later style badge. And looking at where let me get a pointer, where the indents are for the badge that was on it originally, and looking at them plastic legs, this one had the later badge, most definitely. But you know, I haven't got one of them. This is all I've got, so we're going to work with that. Looking at the inside, we can take these off and give them a clean up. These clips look okay. Oh yes, this was this is all bowed on this one, isn't it? This needs some attention. I think might end up changing that completely for a spare one I've got in stock that's nice and flat. The inside, how would you get the speaker off? The speaker cover off? I am going to leave that speaker grill alone because it looks like it's possibly glued in. I just don't think it's that bad enough to go there with this one. So So it's got all this corrosion off batteries and stuff. It's got muck in it. I think what I'll do with this one again, I'll take it outside. We'll give it a good brush down, and I think with that black poster paint, we'll don't want to be painting over too much stuff. I think looking at it, we'll just paint the base, just repaint the base black. Right, so I'll get this outside now, get all the dust and crud out of it. Right, so that's I've wiped the grill down, and I am going to leave it at that because it's not too bad. Actually, looking at it in that light, I am going to leave it. I don't mind the slight imperfections in it. I think if anything, trying to do something with it will make it worse. When the video goes back together, if we're not happy completely with it, we'll have a look at it. But it's got such like a mirror finish. I think it'd be awkward to restore that. Not sure. So anyway, let's move on to the back. First things last. I need to take these off to get them into some degreaser to clean them up. So let's do that right now. So it's just two screws hold each one on. Okay, we'll get them off, get them in a bath of degreaser. Might as well throw the screws in as well. So when I say get them in a bath, I've just got a little tub with a degreaser in it here. I'll just pop them in, leave them for as long as it takes to get back round to them, really. The longer the better. Alright, so let's have a look now at removing this. Will it just pull off because it's so badly damaged? Let's have a go with this tool again. Let's see if we can't just flick it out. Came off okay. That one did. Saves taking all this back foam off, this back surface off to get at it. If you can get them off this way. That one came off. Did they snap? There's 5 contact points with these. They're like them little things that came off the badge. There's one in each corner, one in the middle. So let's see if we can get at the one in the middle. Don't really want to break it because I might have a go at repairing this. There might be a set that hasn't got one comes along all completely, so you know it's not going to be thrown away. Let's twist it a bit, see if we can encourage it to lift this way. No, watch it snap. Whee, there we go. Oh, they actually snap when they come off. But I'm not too worried about that. There's a method of redoing them. Oh, look at all that in there. That's lovely, isn't it? Is that foam out of the... Should this be foamed? It feels fairly close. What we're going to do now is get these out and get another one of these and see if it looks better. And this will keep. And just clean it up, really. So I'll just pause for now. So yeah, in the end, I've ended up tearing back this this fabric on the back, and as you can see, there is no way. I should have remembered this from the last one I did. There's no way they come out because they've been melted on one side. So you've got to lift the back off to get them out. And to be quite honest, it would have been much easier to do that in the first place because they wouldn't have. I mean, this one's all bowed, but if it was a straight one and you were getting it off, mind you, I don't see why you'd want to get a straight one off. It's much easier to do it from this side, and then just get some PVA glue after, and we'll re-glue this. Yeah, so we'll just pop them out. I think that's them all. There's one up in this corner. Alright, so I'll show you how to lift this. You literally just peel it back like that and then re-glue it after. I wouldn't recommend taking the whole lot off because it's just making more work for yourself. So what we'll do now, we'll get some PVA glue and immediately glue this back down. Yeah, I think we will before it starts getting out of shape or anything like that. Okay. So I have got a spare one of these. This back piece has been glued on, so it looks a bit messy in the corners. But I've cleaned most of the glue off, but it too was missing some of its feet. This is a method you can do. It's just using a piece of copper, and I first saw this method done by a chap called Radio Cruncher again, and it does work. It does take a little bit of practice, because what you've actually got to do, I'm just trimming off this piece of copper so it's flat on the base. What you got to do is heat the copper up with a. First of all, we need to look where we're going. Try and keep everything in shot here. So you need to get your soldering iron on, and you need to line up the piece of copper to the right place of the hole where it's going, and then you heat up the copper until it starts to melt its way in. Now you've got to be careful that you don't go all the way through, which I have done on a couple of practice pieces. You do need to practice, because you just need to keep your eye on it really, because it all starts to go at once. I'm just checking in shot there. Because I'm looking at the camera, I'll probably miss it going at once and go all the way through with this one. So just a bit of patience, still heating that copper up. I'm waggling it a bit to feel if it's starting to make its way in. And we're okay at the moment, I think. It does take a bit of patience. I am going to carry on letting the camera roll. It's starting to grip now. This is bound to be the one that goes straight the way through. Yeah, I think that's gripped. So what I'll do now is just trim it off at the bottom here, so it just leaves enough to go into that into the back of the case. There we go. See, that's really sturdy in there now. Cut that one a little bit short, but it'll be okay. There's enough to go through. So I've done this one's got one in the middle. Done these two. Just done that one on camera for you, and I'll get on and do the last one. So there we go. I know it doesn't look dead tidy on the back, but you see we've got them copper parts in. Look on the other side. Luckily, we haven't gone through the plastic. Now, if you do it yourself, do practice a little bit, because it is so easy to just go straight the way through. Because once it heats up to that point where it starts melting the plastic, it soon starts making its way through. So it's not, yeah, like I say, I'm sure you've checked out a guy called Radio Cruncher's channel. It's a tip I learnt off him, and I thought I'd just pass that on to people watching this channel. Okay. So moving back to the finishing of this case, I've just given it a wipe down with a wet wipe. And what often happens when you do this, you do get the muck off. See, it's pretty clean now. It's had a good going over. But you get these paint spots. So what I do, I just use this, it's a leather working tool actually, just to pull them off. They do come off quite easy. This one's not too bad. There's only a few dotted around here and there. It wouldn't be authentic if it didn't have decorating spots on it. Wipe over again. I can see one down here now. That's that one off. I think that's it. So what I'm going to do now is use good old shoe polish, liquid polish, and just give it a dousing of that. Not forgetting the edges. I usually put a piece of newspaper down doing stuff like this, actually. Saves your bench getting all marked. And again, just a piece of kitchen towel. Let's do this edge here, and we can rest it on that edge without fear of it marking the bench. There we go. Looks a lot better now, doesn't it? But, oh, let's see if this fits back on. I'm just going to see how good a fit it'll get just with a push fit before we go dabbing any bits of glue anywhere. And I think that'll be fine. Let's pull the camera out a bit, then you can see how much better that one looks than the other one. Difficult to see black, isn't it, on a camera? Oh, I've not pushed it. Not pushed it all the way around. Let's do this little one here. Is it not lined up? Oh, it is. It's just a bit of a tight fit. Oh, the camera decided to switch off then. So there we go. Still wet with the shoe polish. Oh, the last thing to do is just pop these back on. These have been in a degreaser for about 20 minutes or so. They've come out pretty well. This one's got some corrosion on it just there. Not much can do about that. So we'll get these back on, and then that's the back panel done. I won't bother you watching me put the 4 screws back into there, but that's the back panel done. I'm happy with that. So yeah, there we go, that's done. Let's move on to the main case now. Let's pop that on one side, and again, same thing, wipe over. Oh yeah, let's see how that came out. Looks much better than before, I think so anyway. I just take them out of the way so they didn't get any black paint on them. Right, let's give it a wipe over. Same thing really, same as we did with that back panel. It's not too dirty, this. Just while it's like this, just checking all them joints are okay, and they appear to be. So while I'm wiping it over, I'm looking for any paint spots appearing, and I think it just got splashed on the back panel. What I'm going to do with this bottom piece here, I'm not going to put any shoe polish on because I don't want to, the serial number there, I don't want it to get any black on it. You want to watch it again? Tell you what, let's pause, you see what I'm doing. So just going back to this badge, I'm gonna have to touch in where the blacks come off here. But as you can see, what I've done, I've just put a blob of super glue onto this face and one of the original legs out of the case. There goes the workshop. I've just super glued it on, so I'm going to leave that now to cure. It already feels like it is going to work, and hopefully that should, let's pull back a bit, hopefully that should seat in there really nicely at the end. Okay, really that's it for the cleaning up of the case. I think we'll do one more video on this series, and that'll be the reassembly. So I hope you join me for that one, and again, as always, thanks for watching, and be good to each other, and I'll catch you on the reassembly video, hopefully.